What's up, guys? My name is Rob Epifania. I'm a USPSA Grandmaster, and I'm the owner of Systematic Performance Concepts. In this video, we're going to show you the 7 most effective ways to improve your handgun accuracy, speed, grip, and recoil control. Let's get to it. Number 1, when it comes to improving your grip and getting better accuracy and speed out of your shooting, is to learn how to press the trigger without disturbing the gun. A lot of times people, what they'll do in dry fire is they will get this nice perfect grip, they'll press the trigger, just press it a little more, gun goes off. Hey, great, I did an awesome job. I didn't have any movement in the gun. Which is good. Yeah, that's great until you start shooting at a more practical pace under some stress. So what we want to learn to be able to do is press the trigger without disturbing the gun at all. No matter how hard we press it, no matter what kind of trigger press we use, whether it's a prep method, whether it's just touching the trigger face, whether it's all the way out, whether it's off to the side, we want to be able to not disturb the gun at all. How can you practice this in dry fire? Well, there's 2 ways to do it. One, we can take a shot timer and utilize, or a dry fire par app, dry fire par time app. You guys can search dry fire par timer. They have plenty of apps on the phone that allow you to do this as well. For me, currently, I'm using the Shooter's Global Timer for this. So the idea would be, we have this beep, and this beep is very loud, and it's 0.4 seconds, right? 0.3 to 0.4, depending on the timer that we're using. The intention behind this is to start aimed on target, and as soon as the beep goes off, I'm going to press the trigger aggressively, have the trigger press done before the beep is complete. Okay? This is called trigger control at speed. So I want to be able to aggressively press that trigger to the rear under some time pressure. Now, let's say you do everything great. Trigger is pressed within the beep, you have 0 movement. What are some of the things that we might be able to do to make this more challenging without changing the exercise? 3 things typically come to mind. Number 1 is I can press the trigger faster. Even though we're within the beep, I can still try to respond and move my finger faster. Number 2, we can press the trigger harder. Just because this Gerson Witness 2311 has a 3-pound trigger doesn't mean I can't press it with 7 or 10 pounds. The harder I can press the trigger and not have the gun move, under stress, it's going to replicate, and I'm going to be able to perform better as a result. Number 3, we can add distance between our finger and the trigger break. So we could start fully prepped if we want to do that. We could start touching the face of the trigger without moving any slack, which is the most common thing that I would recommend you guys do. Start here, finish the press. We can add distance between our finger and the trigger. So in this case, I happen to be touching my fingernail to the trigger guard, the front of the trigger guard, and I can finish the press. And then lastly, which I don't do this as much, but for people who are doing CCW defensive-minded things where you might have to make a decision to shoot and get your finger into the trigger guard and fire, that's something we could do also. We could start with our finger outside the trigger on the frame, and then on the beep, try to bring it in and get that trigger press clean. That's going to be that is going to add more time. The other 3, you should be able to do it within the time allotted in the beep. So, learning how to press the trigger effectively, that's going to be very important. Another exercise you could do, this is going to work on both your grip and your ability to work the trigger fast and hard, is to do bill drills. A bill drill is a 6-shot exercise. So I could do it from the presentation or I could do it from the draw. Doesn't matter to me which way you do it for the purpose of this. But the point is, when I come up to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, come up 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and have 0 movement in the gun. The less movement in the gun that I have, the better off my grip is going to be when I go to shoot live rounds. So that's number 1, learn how to press the trigger aggressively without disturbing the gun. Let's get on to number 2. Now, number 2, let's talk about what the support hand and what the firing hand are doing in terms of pressures. You guys may have heard 70-30, 60-40. A lot of places are kind of getting away from that right now, but there's a pretty easy way to understand what needs to happen in terms of grip pressures on each hand. With the support hand, for me, I'm a right-handed shooter, my left hand. Lefties would be opposite. For my support hand, I am going to grip as tight as I possibly can. Okay, I'm going to crush the gun. Try to literally crush the gun. What that's going to do is that's going to give me the most grip pressure that I can have on the gun possible. Most people, they don't grip tight enough, or they start to loosen their grip pressure as they're shooting and their firing hand starts to push on the gun more. The less that you feel you're in control of what's happening with the handgun, the more you're going to try to stop recoil and cause problems. So with the support hand, we're going to crush literally as hard as we can. With the firing hand, I found it becomes subjective to what the mental comfort of you is when it comes to shooting. Some people can grip really light. Relaxed hand is usually what people will tell you to do, relax your firing hand. I found that the problem when it comes to relaxing the firing hand is that people are uncomfortable with it. They don't think that they have enough control on the gun. So when they start shooting, they start tensing. They go from 10 to 100, and it just really causes a lot of problems. So as I've been teaching more and more students, I've taught thousands at this point, I found that the firing hand pressure really comes down to how tight or loose do you need to hold the gun in order for you to feel that the gun isn't going to move, and you don't have to increase or decrease pressure. I like to focus a little bit more towards the bottom of the hand. And in my other How to Shoot a Pistol, 5 Effective Tips for Shooting a Pistol, I go more in depth about the position in the hand and this specific thing. Number 3 is what I call the presentation process. It's a very specific way that I sequence the order of events to build a proper grip. When this is done correctly, the grip is ready to shoot before the gun is actually on target. And that creates a huge boost of confidence. It also allows you to start shooting immediately versus doing the common grip check that people might do. This was an article that I wrote about a year or so ago on this that made it into USPSA magazine as well. So the thing that is most important about this presentation process is that the fingers contact first. So the fingers need to contact their final resting place before the palm connects. Even people who do the knife hand, sometimes they sequence it backwards. They come around with their palm and then they wrap the fingers around. And that doesn't allow you to create the leverage that doing it the opposite way does. So remember to connect your fingers first, then touch the palm. And we'll talk a little bit more about some of the components of the presentation process in a minute. If you guys are interested, I do have a free little video lesson link that we can share with you guys to get the full video on that process. But essentially, we're talking about fingers contact first, then the palm contacts, and then we apply pressure. When that's done correctly, the grip is fully ready to shoot about 70 to 80% of the way in the presentation. When you have that ability, you don't have to ask if your grip is ready. You just start shooting. Number 4 relates to how I'm specifically applying pressure with the support hand. In the presentation process, there's 4 words: fingers, palm, pressure, and leverage. This refers to the pressure part of it. I'm not trying to grip as if I were gripping a hammer. What I'm actually trying to do is pull the fingers into the palm and push the palm into the fingers. So if you guys can see kind of how that looks, I'm pulling the fingers toward the palm and pushing the palm towards the fingers. And what that does is that really allows a lot of grip pressure to be applied onto the grip panel. That's going to transmit better force that you're using from your grip strength into the frame of the gun. When you do it that way, you're going to find that you get real tight on the gun, combined with the fingers first principle that we talked about in number 3. Fingers first, pull the fingers to the palm, push the palm to the fingers. You're going to feel that the grip is exceptionally tight when it comes to the support hand pressure that you're applying. And we're going to tie it in with the elbows in number 5. Number 5 actually has to do with how the elbows play a part in the recoil system. In my presentation process, fingers, palm, pressure, leverage. Leverage relates to how the elbows do the work in order to get the grip ready to shoot before you're on target. What that means, if you can imagine upside down horseshoe in your hands and you are trying to make it straight, you see how the elbows rotate up a little bit, okay? And you see the thumbs kind of move towards each other. What that's going to do is that's going to create more leverage on the top of the pistol. And it's also going to straighten the line in the elbows a bit more. The straighter the line in the elbows, typically the more behaved the gun is. The more straight back it goes, it rises up less, returns better. If you have more of a slope or too much bend in your elbows, the elbows are going to move around too much. Especially if they're pointed more towards the floor, they're going to bounce up. That's going to enhance the feeling of recoil. You're actually going to feel a little bit more recoil, and you're going to want to push down on the gun more. So the straighter we can make the elbows, typically the better off it is. And if we give a little bit of that rotation, when we're on the gun, it's going to really clamp tight on the gun and give us a real tight grip so that we can press the trigger aggressively and not disturb the gun. Okay, let's get on to the next one. Now, the last 2 principles, 6 and 7, relate to exercises that we can do in order to improve our performance, our speed, our accuracy, our grip, and our recoil control. Number 6 relates to what we call acclimation to recoil. Acclimation to recoil is being comfortable with the feel, how it looks, how it sounds. We're not meant to have these handgun rounds go off in front of our face, so it can be an uncomfortable experience for people who are not used to it. It's loud, especially indoors, and the handgun moves around on us, right? We're concerned we're not going to hold on to it. All these little things can enter our minds. So becoming acclimated to recoil is just a good thing to practice with yourself, regardless of the skill level you're at, so that you know that you can control your response to it. If you can reduce or eliminate your response entirely, it's going to give you the benefit of being able to be very comfortable and not disturb the gun until the bullet has left the barrel. So the first exercise I'll talk about is what we call 50-50 drills. 50-50 drills comes from Tactical Performance Center. I took a class with them many years back, and I still use these exercises to this day. There's 4 varieties that I personally use. When it comes to a first-time shooter, it's very simple. So what we do is we would take our magazine. So this is a double alpha dry fire magazine, so never can be a bullet in there, but it is very effective for being able to practice dry fire with a weighted mag. So we would take our mag, we would load it into the gun, load our gun, take the magazine out. Again, there can never be ammo in this thing, so our chamber is empty in this case. But on the range, you would have 1 round in the chamber and an empty mag well. Simplest form, aim on target, try to fire 2 shots. You're going to get a bang and then a click. What you want to pay attention to on all of these is what happens during the click. A lot of you guys, especially in the beginning, you're going to see a lot of movement on the click because you think the gun is loaded, but it's not actually loaded, so you're going to see the response. That's number 1. The simplest form of it is just aim on target. You're going to get a bang and a click, right? Number 2 is we're going to add a presentation into it. So load the gun, take the mag out, okay? Start from a position where your shoulders are relaxed, the gun is at your chest level, and the gun is flat. We don't want to have any of this if possible. When we present the gun, we'll get a bang, bang, come back in. As soon as we touch our chest again, come up, get a click. And the idea is that we're firing it when we think we should, and we're paying very close attention to what happens on the dry fire. Ideally, whatever you see, you want to reduce or eliminate. It's very common in classes that I see people who improve their accuracy as they're going through this because they're just controlling their response better and better. So their groups go from maybe low left, centered, and the groups actually get tighter too, which is awesome. So 1, aimed on target. 2, present the gun twice. Bang, click. Number 3 is now we're going to present the gun and try to fire 2 shots. Okay, so again, load the mag, right? Round in the chamber, mag is empty. Okay, go up, get a bang, click. And the intention is, that's just harder. The challenge is going higher and higher. As you get better at this, you could do more of this kind of thing and not have an issue. Okay, so try to present the gun, bang, click. Be very aware of what happens on the click. Number 4 is if we have 2 targets, we set it up the same way, okay? And we have 1 target, we go up, we get a bang on the 1, we transition our eyes to the next target, bring the gun over to it, and we get a click. So it'd be bang, click. And that just adds a small element of transitions into it also, so that you're now working that component too. Those are the 4 levels. First, aimed on target. Second, 2 presentations, so bang, click. 3, 1 presentation, 2 shots, up, bang, click. 4, transition added into it. Bang, click. Those will work out really, really well for you. And if you spend a little bit of time on that every session, you're going to find your shooting goes up tremendously as you continue. The last one is probably one of my favorite exercises to do, especially when it comes to dialing in your grip and getting high speed combined with good accuracy. I created this exercise a long time ago the goal was to perform about a fist-sized group at 3 yards. At the time, I was teaching defensive and tactical courses, and I wanted to be able to do that because I thought it was so cool when I was able to see it. So the first thing, the exercise is called sewing machine. The purpose behind this is to be able to fire as many shots as I want, as fast as I want to, and maintain that fist-sized group. And I personally do it at 5 or 7 yards when I demonstrate in classes, and that's how I do it now, because 3 yards is a bit close, but if you need to start at 3, start at 3. Doesn't really matter. Whatever gets your confidence up to allow you to let go and start to solve the things that come up. With sewing machine, the purpose, the intention is, if you know what an automatic sewing machine looks like, right? Straight up, straight down, minimal excess movement. Put that in your mind and imagine what it might look like with a pistol. So with a pistol, the gun might come straight back, rise up a little bit, straight forward, return to the same spot consistently. By picturing that in your mind, you're programming consciously what you want the subconscious to see. The subconscious works more on images than it does words. So by imagining what that's going to look like in your mind, now you have this is the result I want. And you're actually creating a temporary version of success by being able to visualize it as well, which is excellent. When we get out on target to the range, we aim on target, get our full grip exactly how we want it to be. And what we're going to do is we're going to start firing at a deliberate pace with the intention to get the gun to look like that. Straight back, rise up a little bit, straight forward, back onto target. By having that image pre-programmed in your head and actually starting to do it at a deliberate pace, what your subconscious is going to do is start to try things in terms of grip. It could be your left hand gets tightened up and the elbow gets rotated, or the firing hand could hold a little tighter or a little looser, depending on what works. You could end up standing in a way that doesn't push you back during recoil. A whole bunch of different things. Grip pressures, all these things will start to happen subconsciously as a result of you playing with that in your mind. When that starts to happen, you're going to start increasing the speed at which you press the trigger. If you can put one shot at a very low rate, very slow rate on target where it comes back, rises up, returns, stops, in let's say 15 hundredths of a second, 12 hundredths of a second, which is what the faster guys are able to do it at. Now, all you're doing is pressing the trigger faster. And when you're able to do that, provided you're doing everything the same, the group should not open up appreciably. It should stay roughly the same size. Maybe open up a little bit, but it shouldn't like have this all over the place kind of effect. You're going to check out your results, right? And then you can make adjustments in your mind. Okay, this next time I'm going to do X, Y, or Z. Common thing that I tell people in this, if they're shooting low left, tighten the support hand, rotate the support elbow. And that makes a big difference in their performance on the next repetition. You try that, do it again. I would recommend anywhere from 30 to 50 rounds on this because it's just going to give you a lot of good feedback. You're going to be able to be more in tune with your gun. By feeling the rhythm of what recoil feels like, it's going to also allow you to hey, this is no big deal. I notice after we perform this exercise in a class, many students are shooting much more aggressively and much more accurately because recoil is no big deal. They've taken the mystery and the unknown out of it, and now they've mastered their ability to manage recoil. So this is an excellent exercise to work with to get your recoil control, your grip, and your speed and accuracy down together. And if you guys are interested, again, there's a free lessons page on my website. We'll share it in the link in the description below, and you can use that. It'll give you things like the draw, reloads, the presentation process, sewing machine. It'll give you a whole bunch of different videos and tips that should be able to help you more if you enjoyed this video. Guys, if you enjoyed this video, please feel free to like, subscribe, share. And if you have questions or comments, put them down below because I love to hear everybody's comments and I love to answer all your questions. Guys, have the best day. Thank you so much for watching.